When you take a look at this equation, it's tempting to say, well, I have the same thing on both sides, so I'm just going to divide by it. The problem is that this has a variable in it, and if tangent of theta were to ever equal 0, then you'd be dividing by 0, and that's not legal. So instead of dividing, what we can do is put everything on one side. Let's say move it over to the right hand side. So 2 sine of theta tangent theta, then subtract a tangent of theta, and on the left there would be 0. Now factor out the tangent of theta. And I'm going to put the tangent theta on this side. So that one gets factored out. We're left with 2 sine and then minus that one. And now set the two factors equal to 0. So this is what I was talking about right here. If you had divided that out, you would have been dividing by 0, and you would have been throwing away that answer, or answers. And set this one equal to 0. And so we've got that sine of theta is equal to 1/2, or tangent of theta is equal to 0. So sine equal to 1/2 here's 2 pi, and here's pi. So 1/2 would be about here. There's going to be one answer pretty close to 0. So sine inverse of 1/2, and that I recognize as pi over 6. Let me double check. It's pi over 6. So pi over 6 is one possibility. And then over here, just to the left of pi, there's another possibility. And so by symmetry, this is a length of pi over 6. This has to be a length of pi over 6. So for this one, it's going to be pi minus pi over 6. So we've got theta is equal to pi over 6. Theta is equal to 5 pi over 6. And now, what about when tangent equals 0? So the tangent graph has asymptotes at negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. Since the directions say that I'm not supposed to be working with negatives, then I'm only going to work with the positive, pi over 2, and then go over by another pi. Over here at 3 pi over 2, there's an asymptote, and over here at 5 pi over 2, there's another asymptote. So you've got the tangent graph going like this, with its branches. So it equals 0 here, which would be at 2 pi, here, which would be at pi, and here at 0. And so this says do include the 0, but don't include the 2 pi. So another solution would be 0, and another would be pi, and we don't need to include the 2 pi. All right, now take a look at the graph. And 0, if we zoom in, into the origin, you'll see that the two are crossing at 0, and the next should be pi over 6. So it's 0, and then that one should be at pi over 6. So trace 0, yes, pi divided by 6 is up there, and then let me look at the whole graph again. 0 to 2 pi. So right in the middle would be pi, so they're crossing at pi, much like in here, there's just this little sliver where they cross. The same type of thing is happening in here. Trace, and at pi, they're crossing, and just to the left of that would be 5 pi over 6, so that should be that point right there. So 5 pi divided by 6, that's the 4 places.